Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys and a Ride. Today Rob and I are down here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're at the SEMA show and we're here with one of our friends, Chris, with Speed Dawg shift knobs. Chris, thanks for visiting with us today.
Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Good to see you guys again.
It's nice to see you again. You make an amazing product. So tell us real quick just what you do.
Well, we make gear shift knobs, high performance gear shift knobs for, well, you can use them on performance vehicles. They've been to the winner's circle with NHRA teams, SCCA, NHRA, countless others. But they're also for any vehicle, not just performance. We sell a lot to Jeep, off-road guys, regular sedans, hot rods.
I mean, it'll fit on any standard manual shift.
Manual and automatics, actually.
And automatics,
yeah,
too.
we do them for lowriders and everything.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, we have right now over 7,000 part numbers of shift knobs, and they're all the round style.
Oh, that is just really sweet. Now, you'll see, I mean, they're just incredible. So, but one of the incredible things about this is how you got started in it. So, you have not done this your entire career. So, tell us a little bit about how you got into cars.
Well, when I was a little kid, I just fell in love with cars. My dad took me to sprint car races in Pennsylvania when I was in first grade.
Okay.
I was 1972, I was a first grader. I went up and I saw sprint cars sliding around the dirt track. They were dirty, they were loud, they were fast and colorful, and I just loved race cars from the first time I saw them. He used to listen to the NASCAR races back on the radio when I was a little kid on Sundays, so I grew up kind of playing with my Hot Wheels cars, imitating the announcers, and then I just became a fan of all kinds of racing. And my dad was a hot rodder back before I was born in the 50s and 60s.
Okay.
But when I came along, yeah, he didn't have any hot rods when I was growing up, but he did have a Torino, and my first car, well, the car I drove in high school was his Monte Carlo, 71.
Okay.
But yeah, just fascinated with race cars, and got very interested in NASCAR back during the 90s, well, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Okay.
But what happened when I was 28 years old, I went to the Williams Grove National Open like I did every year. I had just been married a few months. It was a Friday night I went to Williams Grove. Saturday night was the big World of Outlaws race.
Okay.
I get up Saturday morning. I decided I'm going to go fishing. It was a beautiful fall, September 30th day. And put chest waders on and walk out in the middle of the Susquehanna River. And I'm having a beautiful day fishing, looking forward to going to the National Open that night, but ended up, while I'm standing in chest waders in the middle of the river below a dam, experiencing a cerebral hemorrhage, which very few people survive. And when the bleed occurred, it damaged the nerves that control your eye muscles, so I lost my eyesight right away. My eyes went different directions. I couldn't.
So you're in the water?
I'm in the water.
How do you get out?
Well, they told me I should have passed out. Most people pass out, and I would have drowned when the waders filled up. I got out, stumbled back to the parking area, deafening, a lot of headache and ringing in my ears. I couldn't drive. I didn't know what to do. I got that sensation. I knew my time was up, and I got the sense of calm. It was really surreal. But I decided I have a new wife at home. I want to try and get back. So something told me just try and make it. So I crawled out the parking lane up to some houses, about a quarter of a mile, and it turns out a guy had just had a fight with his wife and was storming out. And he found me coming up the sidewalk in front of his house. Thought I was having a heart. He was a volunteer firefighter. Called 911, pulled me inside, and they started treating me for whatever. They didn't know what was going on, but they raced me to the hospital on a Saturday. Happened to be a neurosurgeon there, and he saved my life. They didn't have time to get me to an OR because that was upstairs and it wasn't ready. But he happened to be there for another patient, and they saved my life in the ER. And I was in intensive care the first week. Had to learn to walk in. But the whole part of that story is when I was, for that month, and I had to wear an eye patch, have a shunt, but it was also the same day, ironically, that Ernie Irvan, the NASCAR driver, who had the terrible crash the year before, was making his comeback in the Truck Series that day. And he was driving with the eye patch from his crash. So he and I had very similar, his was from a crash, but we had a lot in common. So he was actually an inspiration to me, watching him on TV during his comeback. And during my 6 months of recovery, learning to walk and everything, he was a real inspiration. Well, another driver named Nerky Craven met me, and he's like, you got to talk to Ernie and meet Ernie. So long story short, I guess, got to meet Ernie. I was his guest at the Daytona 500 the following year. We've been friends ever since. And it's just been tremendous. He and also Bobby Allison was another guy I became good friends with, because he also has a shunt from his crash.
Okay.
And yeah, he actually, when he comes to town, he would, for autograph sessions and things, he would contact us. I took him to church, and anyway. So long history in racing and
A long history in cars.
cars, yeah. So what happened after following the stroke, I had been an engineer. I was inspired to go back to school. Wanted to be a history professor, believe it or not, but my wife convinced me the best thing to do is study business, minor in history, that would apply to anything. And so I did a business degree and an MBA, and when I was, we had 2 children at that time while I was a student, so I was full-time dad, being recruited for financial positions, which I tell people, though, I was all in being dad. I was lucky to be alive to have kids. It was a dream come true. But the testosterone kind of kicks in when you're Mr. Mom. I do everything with them all day. When they'd go to bed at night, I was, rebuilt the deck on the house, remodeling the basement. I'm working on cars.
Hey, do you guys at the Siemens, you know where I can get a fuel line for my Tesla?
Fuel on for your Tesla.
Fun hot rod, folks.
Yeah, so I'm working on cars at night and going to the races as well. I have a lot of friends in sprint cars. Kevin Gobrecht was a great friend of mine who passed away in a sprint car. But so after I finished school, I did my business degree MBA. But I was very into racing with going to sprint car races. I got introduced to, actually it was during that time I saw my first NHRA drag race.
Okay.
I had been going to NASCAR races and sprint car races all my life and IndyCar races. NHRA blew me away. I mean, the power was amazing. So, but while I was at the racetrack, my children, who were, I think, 5 and 2 at the time, I wanted to buy them t-shirts. And I found a shirt from my daughter. It said Race Girl, a little shirt, it was cute. Looking for shirts for my son, I couldn't find anything that didn't have like skulls and monsters, which are very cool, but
For a kid.
for a 5-year-old, I wanted something a little more toned down. I could only give him driver's shirts. And that's when I kind of started thinking the idea of making a racing shirt for everybody, kids, with the dog. And I was watching a lot of Blue's Clues at the time, being a stay-at-home dad. So that was kind of the inspiration for the dog thing. And I had one idea, and I was actually taking my kids to swimming lessons one morning. I can still remember driving the car and thinking at a red light, and the name Speed Dawg came to my mind because back when I was in high school, a very good friend of mine, when we were learning to drive, I was 16. I can remember one time coming up, almost going through a red light by accident, and him saying, "Whoa, slow down, Speed Dawg." And so he used to call me that. And I hadn't really thought of that name in 20 years. And when I was trying to think of a name for the t-shirt line I wanted to create for my kids, Speed Dawg came to mind. I thought I could make a cartoon dog. So I hired an artist, told him I want the dog to be cartoonish like the old 50s logos. But a cocky grin because he's fast. And this is what we came up with, the logo you'll see on everything.
I love it.
And had some t-shirts. They started carrying them at the local dirt tracks. And I called Englishtown Drag Strip to put up a billboard advertising this, because this was just going to be for fun, and ended up, they put me in touch with their track manager, which was a guy named Eddie Krawick, who was an aspiring motorcycle racer. So I ended up sponsoring it. People don't realize I was Eddie Krawick's first sponsor.
Really?
Yeah, he's now like the 4-time, 5-time NHRA Pro Stock champion. I was his first sponsor. I didn't have any money because we were just starting out. We did 5 races. I was on his bike. We never qualified. He was always like one spot away. But I knew he had so much talent. And the following year, he sat out to try and get a better ride for riding for somebody else. And it was during the season I was with Eddie, actually, that I met Karen Stouffer while at a race. And so when he sat out that following year, I sponsored Karen for 5 races, was all I could afford. In the 3rd race, she put me in the winner's circle in Maple Grove, which is my home track. So I was really hooked then.
Nice.
And I ended up sponsoring Karen as an associate sponsor for 5 years, and as the brand started becoming visible with NHRA, the drag strips started carrying the t-shirt Speed Dawg clothing line. And between the dirt tracks and the drag strips, it was all over the US and Canada. So within a year or two, it was phenomenal. So, and I had professional drivers, the stickers were on their cars and things like that. So I was really just living the dream, thinking that was the top, the top deal. And but once I got with Karen and the business kept growing, we started adding more designs and shirts. We did a Karen Stouffer line and started doing some hot rod shows locally at like NSRA and Good Guys. So we were selling lots and lots and lots of t-shirts, and I would go to Grand National Roadster Show and see people wearing my t-shirts like around, and I'd never been to the West Coast, so it was really neat. During this time, I ended up getting a 31 Model A when I was Mr. Mom, still doing this. I got a 31 Model A, and I wanted to put my dog logo on a shift knob, just like Moon Eyes does.
Right.
So I looked around, I found the company that made them for Ford and so forth, and I just wanted one, but they're like, well, we'll do the tooling. You'll have to buy more than that, but we're going to give you a bunch of colors because this is too cool just to make one.
Okay.
So they sent me like a dozen knobs, all different colors. I took them to, I think it was a Good Guys show, which was locally in Pennsylvania, to sell shirts, and the shift knobs sold out like within the hour. So I thought, we better make some more. Next show, same deal. We couldn't keep them in stock, so we started putting them on a website. People started calling. Next thing I get a call from Locar. They said they had a new shift knob adapter for aftermarket shifters. They wanted to use our knobs to showcase that.
Yeah.
So they had exclusive distribution. I figured nobody's heard of me. They wanted exclusive distribution, so we had a 2-year deal, and that put our name out there. Thank you to Locar. Got the brand awareness. We were in all the hot rod magazines, and at that time, people started calling, wanting knobs without the dog logo, but with shift patterns. So we started putting a name on the side, and as it grew and grew, next thing you know, I started working with licensed companies. We are now the only company ever, or first company ever, licensed to do the whole Mopar line. We developed a Ford licensed line with another company called EPCO. They were already GM licensed, and we also now make knobs for Hurst. We do a significant number, I think it's maybe 20 different knobs for Hurst that are exclusive to us.
What's that?
And you can see all these at our website. But the Mopar line has been huge because that's even the Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Plymouth, AMC. So we're doing a lot of the vintage logos. These shift knobs never existed back in the day. So guys restoring Javelins and Roadrunners can now, even Cudas. I personally have a 73 Cuda, and it has the first Cuda knob we did is on that car. But once we develop it, it's now a licensed item. So guys have been coming with Cudas, Barracudas, Super Bees, Scat Packs, Hellcats, you name it. Our newest product now is the 426 Hemi Elephant shift knob with the logos for the crate engine. This just came out at this.
Yeah, I love that.
We debuted that. This was a new product at this show.
I hope it comes across on camera because the quality and the fit and the finish on the knobs it's beautiful. And you have such a different, variety of them. You've got, the ones that are solid colors. You've got the ones that are like see-through. Those are incredible, yes. I think. And you said you make them for not only manuals but also automatics.
Oh, these are on everything. We have they're on cruise ships, boats, tractors. You name it.
They also sit on desks as decoration.
Yeah, a lot of guys buy multiple and swap them out because it's like changing socks. You can change the whole look.
We should point out here too, like ones like this one here. That's designed by.
This is the Von Hot Rod, part of his signature series.
Okay.
That's actually his pinstriped artwork that we digitized and scaled down and put inside of the knob. And it's a multi-step process, available in a variety of colors. And I do want to say that all of our knobs are made in the USA. And they're torque and temperature rated. They don't get hot and cold in your hand.
Okay, so they can be in any climate. That's,
And solid brass adapters.
Wow. Now, people can custom order.
Yes, we do custom.
So you can get custom colors, the colors of the stripes, that kind of not have stripes or whatever. Okay.
And also our graphics never wear off. These stripes go all the way through the knob.
That's an incredible thing. I mean, to think that's solid all the way through. Wow.
So you can't rub the graphics off.
Tell us a little bit about these knobs down here, all just the round one, but then you've got these ones with the buttons on the side. So
Yeah, that's a 12-volt momentary switch, typically used for drag racing to activate a line lock trans breaker nitrous. But we have some street rod guys, they'll use it to put on their wolf whistle horn, their high beams. You can do a lot of creative things with it.
You know, what a story, Chris. I mean, coming from your background, you know, having to go through what you did.
Yeah, I always tell everybody there's every cloud has a silver lining. It's a real, out of the tragedy like that I went through, and I mentioned Ernie Irvin, we became friends. We ended up doing some charity events. The mayor of our town contacted me about doing a benefit for charity. Ernie came in as a guest. He sold the place out because this is back when he was racing. And out of our two tragedies, if you will, some children, handicapped children, got to meet their hero, Ernie Irvin. So that's when I started realizing, you know, there's always something good can come out of something bad. And I mentioned Karen Stouffer. After Karen, who I was with for 5 years racing, we were also very fortunate. Since I sponsored the Sprint Car Series in Pennsylvania, for 5 years, we were on all the overall Central PA Sprint Car Series. We were on all the race cars, which was incredible. But once the shift knob line started taking off, we were doing more shift knobs, fewer shirts. I wanted to get involved with NHRA Pro Stock. I was on the motorcycles, but cars that shift gears. So I was with Kenny Koretsky's team. He had me on Greg Stanfield's Pro Stock car. They won the U.S. Nationals. Following years, I was fortunate enough to be with Summit, KB Racing, the Summit cars, which Greg Anderson, Jason Line, and then Bo Butner joined that team, and we've won a lot of races. I was on the hood of Bo Butner's car. I was on the fenders of Jason and Greg's, but won a lot of races, a championship with Jason, and then a world championship with Bo. Then when those guys retired, when things changed during the pandemic, I'd been friends with Cruz Pedregon, the two-time Nitro Funny Car World Champion for a long time. Had the opportunity to go on his car as an associate sponsor, and we were in the winner's circle twice last year. He was here signing autographs the other day.
Okay.
So it's phenomenal.
Well, you have met quite the group of people as a result of
all from basically the tragedy I experienced.
Right.
In fact, when you walk the show, some of the top builders, guys that were getting awards last night, the Hot Rod Industry Alliance banquet, that were getting awards, they have my knobs in their cars at this show.
That's awesome.
There are several if you walk the floor, and yeah, so it's just tremendous. The people that contact me from the biggest names in racing and car building, the professional builders, I'm really just living the dream. I was the kid standing in line to get autographs from these guys that are now calling me. Now they're in my cell phone, yeah, and now we're friends. So that is totally living the dream.
You know, Chris, this is an incredible lineup of products. I mean, they're beautiful.
Thank you.
And I hope they come across the campus. They're just outstanding. So, somebody wants to order from you. How do they do it?
Well, the best way is to go to SpeedDawg.com. That's SpeeddDawg.com. Or one of our distributors. We have many. I don't want to name them in case I miss one, but you'll find us online or in catalogs. And you can go over the website. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call. We'll see if we can make it for you. We do a lot of custom private label, and like I said, a lot of licensed shift knobs. We're exclusive licensing to develop for some of these companies.
All right, so your product is in a lot of places. In fact, Rob was recently in Detroit at the Henry Ford Museum and found this. So here is. We are wondering if you would be so kind as to autograph it.
I would be honored. Yeah, this is one that came out I think last year. They've actually done this company M2. They've been licensed to create cars with the SpeedDawg logo. They do a tremendous job. Every time they send me artwork, I am just blown away.
And it's you can see it on the roof too. And it's got the Bulldog on there.
Yeah, I think they've just sent some more art. They've done like 10 or 11 different cars now. Tractor trailer sets, everything.
So I'm just going to guess here, because I know this will never leave its case, but I'm guessing Rob would like you to autograph it right on the top there. So you maybe right across here where we can see it in the red.
Okay, I'd be delighted.
Well,
yes.
thank you.
Now, unfortunately, I've already had some coffee, so it might be a little shaky. There you go. And if you like, I'll personalize it as well then.
Okay.
But is that okay?
That's awesome. I love it.
Gets a seal of approval there. That is way cool, Chris.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing, I just remember being a little kid playing with Hot Wheels cars. I have a massive collection. In fact, my kids are now in college and out of college. They still get Hot Wheels, I don't want to say the brand Hot Wheels, I mean die-cast cars.
Right.
Now they're getting M2 cars in their stockings every year just because Dad likes to pick them out.
That's right. Well, you know,
They never outgrow it.
what an appropriate way to end our interview. You started out as a young kid playing with cars, imitating the races that you saw, and now here you are today after your tragedy, having started a whole new business, back into cars again, building shift knobs that are sold around the world to the very people that you were, you know, some of your stars.
Yeah, my heroes.
And
That's
back
the
to
cool
having Matchbox cars, or not that brand name, but you know, die-cast
cars.
having die-cast metal cars made with your logo on them.
thing. Yeah, that's what really just blows me away. And that
It's come full circle.
they're in major retailers all over North America, and talk about just being blown away by some things never thought would happen.
Never
Dream-
thought it would
you
happen.
dream it,
Well, you build a quality product, and that's what you get, along with a good vision to dream about what's possible. Chris, thank you so much for spending your time with us today.
Thank
We
you.
sure appreciate it.
I can't thank you guys enough. It's great to see you again. Thank you for taking the time to meet.
Oh,
with me.
you're welcome. We've been looking forward to this for 2 years, Chris.
Well, thank you.
And thanks for watching.
Thank you.